News in the fight against ISIS and an uneasy alliance that now faces a brand new test. This morning, we learned that Russia has launched its first airstrike on extremist targets in Syria, including military equipment. And adding to the drama, Russia has told the U.S. to ground its warplanes there. CNN's Barbara Starr is tracking the story from the Pentagon. Bring us up to date, Barbara.
Carol, this is really a story moving by the hour, by the minute, in terms of rising tensions between the Russian military and the U.S. military. A short time ago, one U.S. official telling me this is not the way nations conduct military relations. What happened earlier today was a Russian general went to the U.S. embassy in Baghdad, read a note out telling the U.S. defense attaché Russia was about to begin military strikes in Syria within the hour, and apparently that is exactly what they then proceeded to do. 4 Russian warplanes striking targets near the Syrian city of Homs. Homs is in western Syria. ISIS is not there. This is an area where anti-regime militias are, where these militias are fighting against Bashar al-Assad. All indications in the U.S. view is that the Russian airstrikes were an effort to prop up Assad, not to fight ISIS. A lot of consternation at the Pentagon right now about this, because it was just yesterday that Defense Secretary Ash Carter let it be known that he was beginning to set up mechanisms, procedures to talk to the Russians, military to military, about how to deconflict operations in the skies over Syria. The worry, of course, is Russian warplanes flying, U.S. warplanes flying. Nobody wants to see an incident. Nobody wants to see anybody get shot down inadvertently. But where those talks go now, very much an open question now that the Russians have basically said, we're doing it anyhow. Carol?
All right, Barbara Starr reporting. We're getting, of course, we're getting conflicting reports out of that region right now, Barbara. And I understand the Russian foreign minister is now holding a news conference. We're monitoring that right now just to make sure it's in English and so that everybody can understand it. In the meantime, I want to bring in Lieutenant General Mark Hertling. He's a CNN military analyst. Welcome, General.
Good morning, Carol.
General, what do you make of this?
Not unanticipated, frankly. I mean, I think anyone who's in the military who has conducted campaigns and operations expected this to happen. Even though the diplomacy and the talks back and forth has said, Russia has said they are going against ISIS, they are an ally of Assad. He is the reigning government in Syria, and legally he can invite the Russians in to do whatever they want. So I did not anticipate that they would not attempt to stabilize and try to expand the area under Assad's control, which is part of the area that we're talking about. I did not think that they would not go after alliances that are contrary to Mr. Assad. So all of these things I think most military folks are expected, but this is now a condition of the battlefield, and it's going to get more tense as the hours go on.
Okay, so I was talking about this conflicting information because I just got this urgent in my email box. So you heard what Barbara Starr reported, that Russia is conducting its airstrikes in western Syria, not exactly a stronghold of ISIS terrorists, but I just got this urgent, and it quotes a Russian Defense Ministry spokesman who said that Russian warplanes conducted a strike in Syria against ISIS military equipment, communication center, vehicles, and ammunitions. Do you think that's true?
I ain't buying it. Truthfully, I'm not buying it. ISIS does not have any strength in Homs itself, and their strength is in other places of the country, and they would not have done some of the things they did in terms of last-minute notification of both elements in Baghdad and the U.S. Embassy there. So this is truthfully a support for Assad. They are trying to keep him in power. They have bases in Syria that are critically important to their Mediterranean strategy. So I anticipate more things like this happening, and frankly, I think the military and State Department officials on the ground believe that this will continue as well.
Okay, so the other concern is before these airstrikes began, a Russian official marched into the American embassy in Baghdad and said, look, we're going to conduct these airstrikes, so you need to get your warplanes out of the area now. The United States did not do that, but Doesn't that sound like it could become dangerous?
Yeah, it sounds like it to the untrained, Carol, but truthfully, I'm sure there's more conversations than that going on. At least I would hope so. We have conducted operations with the Russians before, not only exercises, but also combat operations in the Balkans about 10 or 15 years ago. They are always difficult to deal with. They always do things without coordination. So I think the military planners and operators out of Central Command and the ones in Iraq and Syria that are working the Iraq and Syria issue themselves are probably attempting to deconflict and coordinate more rather than less. But this is something that's problematic. Russia has close to 34 airplanes in Syria right now, and they are not only ground attack aircraft, but also air-to-air aircraft. So this is something the military, the coalition military planners, to include U.S., have to watch and be very careful about.
So the United States and Russia are both fighting within Syria, and they're at cross purposes, because initially the United States, the Obama administration says, you know, we want Assad to be out of power. We don't want him in there anymore. We're not helping him. We hope somebody overthrows him. Of course, as you said, Russia wants completely the opposite. Elise Labott sat down with Secretary of State John Kerry recently, I think just yesterday, and suddenly he said that this is, well, it could be an opportunity for the United States. So let's listen to Secretary Kerry.